Hello everyone, happy new year. Welcome to 2023. I'm Kashopa Reality. If you have not seen my face before, this is who I am. Yes, so in this first video for the year, I'll be showing us how to make a basic trouser. There are various methods of making a trouser, but in this particular video, I will be using the Helen Armstrong method, and I'll be doing some modifications based on the Nathalie Bray method. In simple English, I'm just trying to combine two different methods to achieve one, because actually both methods are very similar. Now this will be a quick video. If you try it out, I'm sure you will achieve great results. But if you want a more comprehensive video on how to make a trouser, where I do a lot of other things, show you some similarities, the differences and all that, I have a course on that. You can check the link in the description. But then moving forward, let's get started. So I have here my required measurements, which I've written down on paper. Please watch my video on how to take proper trouser measurement. I have here my pattern paper. I actually joined two pattern papers together like so. Now I'll be making use of this paper, as you can see. For this method, I'll be drafting the left side and the right side together. I will not be drafting one on top of the other, but rather side by side. Ensure you draw your margin. I have here my side margin, as you can see, and I also have my top margin. Now for the width of the paper, you have to do 3/4 of your hip measurement or more. Please ensure that your paper is wide enough. I have my top margin, which is very wide. I made use of 3 inches. Please don't do less than 2 inches. Now I have here my vertical measurement from waist to hip. Mark it across. Then the next one is your waist to crouch. Mine is 12 inches. Whatever yours is, please mark. The next is your trouser length. I'll be making use of just 20 inches. If you are making a long trouser, you can do maybe 39 or 40, depending on what you are working with or the design you want to make. Now this line here divides my pattern into 2 equal halves. Now the width of my pattern is 30 inches based on my measurement. That automatically means that vertical line divides my pattern into 15 inches each for the left and for the right side. The next thing I've done here is just to zoom in. So I will start my construction from the front part, which is on the right side. I will insert 1/4 of my hip measurement. I would measure from the vertical line that divides the pattern into 2 towards the right side. Measure this on the waistline, the hip line and the crotch line like so. Then connect with your ruler. This is just to ensure that you have a straight line. Now this vertical line is your center front line. The next thing will be on the waistline. Insert 1/4 of your waist circumference measurement plus 1 inch for that and 1/4 inch for ease, which is optional. If you do not want the ease, do not add it. I have inserted my measurement like so. The next thing to do is to find the midway of the center front line. Both methods refers to this as point X. For me, that will be 6 inches. I have marked like so. Now to get the front crotch extension, mark what you have between the center front line and the vertical side line. Whatever you have, divide it into 4. That gives you the value of your front crotch extension. Now if you're using the Nathalie Bray method, you have to do 1/10 of your hip minus 5 cm. What I'm just going to do now is just to draw a 1¼ inch guideline or 3 centimeters. I'll get my curve and I'm trying to connect the front crotch extension to the point X on the center front line like so. You may have to try this more than once, but this is what I have, and this gives me my front crotch extension. Now going back to my waistline, I have my waist point already. I'm going to make use of my curve or my ruler. I'm actually making use of a ruler because my curve is not available at the moment. On the waist point, I'm going to raise the waist point by 0.5 inch. And on the center front, I can come down by 1/4, half, or even 1 inch, depending on the person's stomach size. But I think that 0.5 inch is just fine. And I'm going to connect these points together like so. This gives me a slanted waistline. Now with the Helen Armstrong method, you probably do not need to do a slanted waist, but I think a slanted waist fits better. The next thing to do is just to insert the dart. With the Helen Armstrong method, you have to insert 2 darts. The first thing to do is mark 3 centimeters. That gives you the first dart space, and you're going to rule down the length of the dart according to the textbook is 3 inches, but I feel that the 3 inches will be too small, and I've decided to use 5 inches. Now at that point, I'm going to mark 1/4 inch on both sides as my dart space. Now from the second dart position, I would mark 1¼ inch away to get the second position for the dart. Now from there, I'm going to mark, since my total dart space is 1/2 inch, that is 1/4 on both sides. Now from this point here, I will mark half, find the middle, and I'll rule down for the second dart position. Now it's not compulsory, you can just make use of one dart. Now some authors makes the length of the dart the same thing. Some authors make one shorter, the one on the side shorter. Depending on what you do, depending on your style, depending on level of creativity, it doesn't really matter. You can just make use of any dart length. So this is what I have for the front block pattern. You can see it's very easy. Now let's go to the back pattern. Now the line that divides my pattern into 2 equal halves is the side seam line, whereas this line here is the center back line. So from the side seam line towards the left, I will insert 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement on the waistline, the hip line, and the crotch line, and I'll connect with a long ruler like so. Next thing we'll be doing is the back crotch extension. Now the Nathalie Bray method says you do 3/4 of your hip measurement minus 4 cm, and you have to measure this from the front crotch extension. If you are using the Helen Armstrong method, for you to get the back crotch extension, you have to find half of the distance between the side seam and the center back. Whatever it gives you, use that as your extension. As you can see, I labeled the wrong line as center back. I had to correct that. Now as a guideline to draw the back crotch curve, you have to mark 2¼ inch line as a guideline. On the waistline at the top, go in by 3/4 inch. Now this is just for you to have a slanted center back. Also mark your point X, which is midway between the center back line. Connect the 0.75 on the waistline to the point X. Get your curve and connect all the points together like so. As you can see that my back crotch extension goes into my margin. Thank God I still have a little space left for the extension. Now what we're going to do next is I'm going to extend the center back line upwards a little bit, and I'm going to insert 1/4 of my waist circumference measurement plus 2 inch for that. As you can see, the point is exactly on the side seam line. But please note, you don't have to use 2 inches for that. You can reduce your dart to 1 inch depending on what you want to use. Not a must you use the 2 inches, but at first I went ahead to use the 2 inch, and later I just had to reduce it. Now for the dart position, just like we did for the front, we'll be making use of 2 dart position. From the 0.75, mark the first mark, which is 3 inch. The dart length will be 4 inches, and you open the dart by 0.5 inch on both sides. Now if you want to use 1 inch for that, please mark 1/4 inch on both sides. Now ensure that the space between each dart is 1¼ inch, just like we did for the front. Now I'm making use of 2 darts position, but if you want to use just 1 dart position, it is fine. Now what I'm going to do next is at the side, I'm going to raise the side by 1/2 inch, just like I did for the front. Using the Nathalie Bray method, you know that you have to slash on the hip line to have your seat angle, but for this Helen Armstrong method, you will not slash. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to extend the center back line upwards by 2 inches. For some persons, you may have to do 2.5, and I'm going to connect it straight to the waist point like so. As you can see, I'll have to redraw my dart because I have a new slanted waist position, and I'm not using the horizontal line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and correct that. But please note, if you are following what is written in the Helen Armstrong textbook, you do not have to extend the center back line by 2 inches. I just decided to do that just to compensate for the seat angle that was not included. But then I will definitely sew this. I'm going to sew a test fit to see how well it fits. So I have here my pattern. As you can see, I've done the dart. I've reduced the dart intake to 1 inch, and I have here my scissors, and I'm just going to cut out the pattern. Now I didn't do any shaping on the hemline, because I just wanted to make a free short. What is necessary is just the waistline, the hip line, and the crotch line. So I'm just trying to cut out now. We're not adding any allowance. When we transfer to fabric, we will add the necessary allowance. Now for the back crotch extension, I'm just going to connect it straight down. I had to measure the distance, just ½ inch out of my margin, so I just pull it down. Now if this were to be a long trouser, I'm supposed to take it to the knee region, but since I'm not making a long trouser, I'll just take it down. Now going over to the front pattern, this is what I have. Now what I'm going to do next is just to draw the flap. Now you can draw it with your pattern, or you can actually attach it when you are sewing. It all depends. Now the width of my flap here, I'm using 1.5 inch, and the length will just be like 6 inches or 7 inches, like so. I just inserted the slanted center front. What I'm just going to do now is my front crotch extension. I'll just bring it straight down. I just decided to measure just to ensure that I have a straight line. So this is what I have. It's very easy, no much shaping, and we have a basic short trouser. So this is one of the easiest methods to make your trouser. I will encourage you to practice. If you want to submit to me personally, you can reach out to me on WhatsApp, and if you want me to do a test fit on YouTube, let me know in the comment section.